Ladies and gentlemen, we are back! Back for another episode of the Draxx Life Podcast, where we'll chat about some of the weird and the wondrous. Let's get to the show. We're live, truly live, seeing each other. The world is seeing us for the first time.
Oh, yes.
We got Bobby A, the pirate. The Santa
right.
Claus pirate.
Christmas. This is the last episode before Christmas. I had to do it.
This is true. You're right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yo, good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, man. How are you?
I mean, we talk regularly,
Almost every day. Yeah.
but it's been a while since I've seen this lovely face and the long hair.
Yeah. We got the elf on the shelf, the gingerbread man, the Frosty. You know what I'm saying? It's Christmas time.
What we got in
You
the
see
fridge?
Frosty?
We got that Latin eggnog.
Oh yeah, the coquito is in there.
Oh, it's percolating. It's fermenting.
But
it's brewing.
That's still the one left over from Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna make a new batch starting, I would say, on Monday.
Oh, okay. Now, will that be a Christmas treat or will that be a New Year's treat?
That's a good question. I'm thinking Christmas evening. I'm thinking Christmas evening. Yeah.
Let's go. Well, dude, all right. What we got on the docket for today? I know you've been deep. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've already said this, right? Like, Bobby A is the Batman of Twitter, right? He is moving, ducking and weaving, leaping, from one building to the next. Spider-Man meets Batman. He got the grappling hook.
That's right.
And I think last week we left off with a couple things that were kind of current events, right? We were talking a little bit about what's going on in the drones. And actually, it's funny. Since then, multiple people that we know who live on the East Coast, because we both live on the East Coast, have actually seen like something, drones, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I actually talked to our friend down in Fort Lauderdale last night. He called me, and
very cool.
And there was, so his wife captured a lot of good footage that I told him you should submit to the local news. It would be used. That's how good that footage is. But
or posted on X. I mean,
anywhere. But it's definitely usable. And so we had a long conversation about that. But first, big news. Channel January 3rd. Because I know, Chris, you've been bugging me, rightfully so.
I was like, where are we going on this one?
We're going live. The Secret Truth with Bobby A. Robert Avery is going live January 3rd. 2025.
All right, it's out there. This is
now
it's today, so
right. So
like,
I can't. This is
20 people at least. That's our average viewership.
Yeah, no, I'll look you in the eye and tell you this is gonna do it. Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things. Just like this is our first time we've done video. It's okay. It could be better. It's not horrible. But like, dude, the next one will be better, and it'll get better, and it'll get better. But if you don't start, it'll never improve.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Awesome. I look forward to that. I look forward to maybe being a guest at somewhere down the road.
Oh yeah, you will be. We'll have all the stars on that show.
All the common flow of people. We'll get Birchin on there at some point.
Yeah. Everyone.
Nice. All right. So then let's go. So since the last time we talked about drones, and we talked about the assassination of the United Healthcare's CEO.
Yeah, so
where do you want to start with? Because I know since then you kind of did a deep dive.
Yeah, let's do that first. Okay. Let's do the healthcare first, and then I'll talk to you about the UAPs, or at least what I've seen. So what a new wrinkle to this angle that I've seen with United Healthcare is, did you see him getting paraded around? You saw that.
I saw when he got arrested, and they take him back in, and he's yelling some things out loud. So people have kind of speculate on what was said. And then I saw another image of him being taken, and there was like 20 people taking him somewhere. I don't know where, maybe to be arraigned or whatnot.
Yeah. So do you think that was like a showcase thing? That was a publicity stunt, or
I don't know. The image I saw seemed pretty like. It seemed like a lot of people for one guy who's, shackled. In this day and age, it's like, since anything can be captured on film or like video or just in a photograph, right? I almost wonder if every decision any type of government agency makes, like in the back of their head, it's like, okay, this is going to be a picture will be taken. So whether consciously or unconsciously, they're like planning for that. So like the
Mm,
image of things are important.
yeah. All right. Um,
Why did you? What do you think? Do you
so
think
I
yes or no?
think, oh man. So so the research I was doing is was, I hate to go back to like the Eddie Bravo stuff. I think this might be more of a distraction than
Yeah.
actual, yeah, than actual like news. So, and if- all the stuff like post election, there's stuff I've been seeing. Have you ever seen in your travels? Because I know you do a little bit of swimming as well. Like,
Oh
have
yeah.
you seen anything?
I'm in the waters.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen anything about this January 20th date? Have you seen this number at all?
Uh, no,
No.
it doesn't. It doesn't like ring any direct bells. Why?
Yeah,
What does it
yeah.
refer to?
I mean, it could be complete tinfoil, but what I've been seeing is there's something because it's right when the new administration takes over, so the post inauguration, and apparently something is supposed to happen. That's where, so we'll get it. That ties in with the UAPs.
Well, yeah, because
But,
the inauguration day is the 20th. That's
well, that's what I'm
when.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard that like between this and we talked about this briefly last week. There was one of the guys on the Twitter files. What's his name? Matt Tahibi. He does a Monday. So he has his own now like news agency, let's call it that. And every
Mhm.
Monday they do like a 3 hour live where they just like talk about what's going on in politics. And he does it with an author. I forget his name. And
I don't know.
he was saying, he's like, when the United Healthcare thing happened, his first instinct was this is too scripted. Like this is like almost something pulled from like a 90s or early 2000s like spy movie, and
That's
that
fair. Yeah.
his whole like take was like this is just a means of like distracting people from like politics and what's going on, because like now between when President Trump got elected and he becomes like actually takes office, like it's like a last ditch effort, right? Like if you really think that he's the bad guy, or right, you just don't want his side to win, it's like you have a very limited time to like get as much stuff through and done or stashed away as you can. So like
Hmm.
it would be advantageous to have a couple things take up like the news spotlight, and now you're in the corner like, all right, I don't know, destroying files, pushing through whatever bills you want to push through, it kind of in the shadows.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then did you hear what the journal when he had that press conference, he had a, because he's the transition is happening, and the journalist asked him, we saw that you had an intelligence briefing. Can you comment on that? And he's like, I'm gonna choose not to comment on anything referring to all the drones and UAPs on the East Coast. He
Oh,
literally,
this is Trump.
this is
When
Trump
was this?
said this. I think it was, what's today, Friday. I think it was 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. Because I think earlier in the week there's a clip. Like, dude, I am just getting into X, and it's like to me it is a murky swamp of like truth and misinformation. It's kind of crazy, actually. I
it's
can see how
fun.
people. It's fun, but I can see
Yeah,
how someone could make the argument of like, if you don't go in with kind of a strong mind and a huge degree of skepticism,
that's
like
true.
you could be brainwashed
I,
because people
I
just say
agree.
things, and I'm like, that is in no way near true. Like it is so, and they're saying it like bullface truth. So like it is a little bit. It could be a little dangerous. But anyway,
No, you're
I
exactly right on that. You're
right.
bang
So
on.
like if you're a young impressionable person and you're on there, people say some wild stuff, and you're like Alex Jones. I mean, I've listened to Alex Jones. I find him to be sometimes kind of
I
on
don't
point.
mind Alex Jones at all. He's kind
But
of crazy,
he
but
says wild stuff
he's
all
crazy.
the time. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, it's like the man who cried wolf scenario. It's like, bro, if you just reined it back a little bit, people would take you a little more seriously. But you're just saying crazy stuff 24/7, 365. It's like, to me, it waters it down a little bit. But anyway, real quick. So my point was, I saw a video of Trump, I think it was earlier in the week,
Mhm.
doing a press conference, and they asked him about the drones. And at that time, I guess he had not had this what you're talking about, and he was like, I don't know what they are, but he's like, there's no way the government does not know what they are or who they belong to.
Right.
He
Yeah.
was like, it's just not possible. He's like, if they're legit, like if they're with like, let's say they're, because one of the things is that they're legal, like they're pedestrian drones. He's like, then they would know exactly the garage they came out of. He's like, there's no way they don't know whose they are or where they're coming from. And he's like, if they were a foreign entity, he's like, they would be shooting them out of the sky. You know what I mean? Like, even if they were over like neighborhoods, they're gonna shoot them out of the sky. They're not gonna just let this happen, right?
Exactly.
So he's like, they know what is happening. They're just choosing, like he's like, I don't know why, but they're just choosing not to let the
And
public
what
know.
and why hasn't Biden commented on at all? You see what I'm saying? You were right. Like, to your point, that's what I was talking with Bertrand last night about that. I said
Well,
his
and
name, so
Burchin goes down. Burchin goes down. Well, he's been on.
yeah,
Like he goes down the
yeah.
rabbit hole. But like, so there's another thing floating around on Twitter. Take it as a grain of salt. But there's a guy who now it's like everyone is kind of like retweeting his video and or like bringing up what he talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a drone builder in like the Midwest somewhere. Like he builds drones like for commercial use. And he was saying he was like I know drones like from my that's my profession. He's like,
Yeah.
one, there's really not many reasons why drones would operate at nighttime. He's like, they don't really see very well. He's like, it's not ideal. It's not an ideal environment. He's like, the only reason you really would be operating a drone from his perspective was like you're trying to find someone or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, he mentioned, and again, I'm not corroborating any of this,
Yeah.
but like he said that he heard through, let's say, a government person that there's like a missing like have you heard this like there's like a nuclear warhead that was like American owned that was in Ukraine and now is like
Yeah, that's what Ryan Graves was talking about.
people
Yeah.
don't know where it is, and he was like, drones can be used to find radiation,
Yeah.
and that might be one of the reasons. He's like, there's an area they've kind of narrowed it down as to where they might be, like we are on a coast, that's where something would come in.
It's coming from the ocean. It's coming from the
Yeah, and
Atlantic.
he's like, they're using drones to try to like sniff out literally like radiation to try to find this thing. So that's like the big one I've been hearing a lot of. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. That's what I learned. That exactly what you said from Ryan Graves.
Okay, so
That's
the
where I
Joe
learned.
Rogan episode.
Yeah, correct. That's where I learned that from, and he's right. It's coming in from the ocean, and like you said, no one is commenting about it. No one's doing anything about it. They're just kind of letting it happen, and they're all in clusters too. They're like zooming by each other. I don't know. So
It's crazy.
now there's three options here. Is it an adversary kind of spying or collecting
Yep.
data? That's one. Number two is like you said, is it the aliens, which is the fun option for me. I wanted to be I want Giorgio on the case.
Yeah.
But my guy, guy I love.
Yeah.
So
Big up.
but I think that's the least plausible explanation.
Yeah.
And then what I was talking to our friend last night about is it a simulation? Is this a glitch in the system? Is something happening?
It's like in the Matrix.
Yeah,
it's like when
like a
the
code
distortion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a distortion in the 0-1 green coding. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, what did Burchin think? What was his?
He thinks it's a simulation. He'll say it. He'll come on camera.
But what
and
do you
say
mean when you say simulation? What do you mean exactly?
I think this is a new code being written into what planet Earth is.
All right.
Yeah, which is what. See, I don't know about that one either.
Yeah, you guys are partaking a little too much.
Well, that's why I told you I went into Reddit, which I don't normally go into the Reddit abyss, but I went in.
That's where I swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it as, and again, anything we take what we say with a grain of salt. We're consuming what everyone else is consuming.
Yeah.
But like, I look at it as for the most logical, I go in the least likely UAP. Like, aliens.
Yeah, I think
That
that's the least likely,
I
even
think
though I
that's
want it to be that.
it would be
Yeah.
cool. It'd be interesting, but I don't know. And I mean, Giorgio's probably silent on this, so if he's not talking about it,
Then
it's
it's, yeah, fair
not
enough.
aliens.
Fair.
Um, the next least likely, in my opinion, would be like it's consumer drones, and for some coincidental reason, all of these people are flying their drones at night, like which people have said, like when the governments are like, oh,
Yeah,
these are like
that's a good
legally
point. That's a good point.
operated. It's like that doesn't make any sense. So like a bunch of people that are unrelated are all flying drones at night when it's hard to fly them at night, and if they're as big as
It's
people are saying,
ineffective at night. It's way better during the day. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
because you can't really
but
see, you can't
you
see,
can't see anything. Yeah,
you can't see
it's true,
anything, and
because
if these are
they don't have headlights like cars or anything like that.
well, and the one now,
Yeah,
like, that's another thing people are saying. Like they do have lights, and
they
the
do.
lights are kind of like they're like within the government regulation for like a plane, right? Because you need to have lighting that's like up to a certain code. So a
Mhm.
lot of these drones, like they have the lighting. So that was another thing people were like, I don't think it's aliens because why would they essentially be obeying like the laws of the air? But anyway,
Yeah, like U.S.
yeah,
aviation laws. Yeah,
yeah,
correct.
they read the book and then they're like, all right, if we're gonna come into Earth, we might as well obey their laws.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's like UAP as in aliens, least likely that they're
Hmm.
just like consumer drones. I don't think that's true.
Mm.
Then I would go foreign, and then I'd go like U.S. government. I think foreign is unlikely too, because it's like, dude, our like the military is very sophisticated. Like they ain't like on the short bus. They are very competent.
Hmm.
So like to imagine that like a ship is somewhere off the coast and is able to like send off drones that then fly over our essentially our land
Yeah,
border and enter into our space. It's like I
U.S.
don't think that's
airspace.
true.
Yeah.
Because like if you talk to someone who's a drone operator, if you lift a drone off like in an area that you're not supposed to, like over the White House, it will shut down. Like they can shut it down. So I don't think that's likely. Now, someone said something effective like, well, what if they are like other like foreign agents but that were in America? Right? So it's not like
So
they're
that,
shooting off drones from like some submarine. They like somehow got into America, maybe through our border,
are you talking about
and
like the double agent
just
spies?
like think about it, like if someone comes in through the border, not all of those people are just looking for work. Some of them might be foreign
Yeah.
agents. They might work for other. I mean, that's probably probable, right? It's a weak point. Foreign governments are always trying to get people into America. Like
Hmm.
there was someone that got caught not that long ago who was like I think a student, and like they were tied to like let's say Korea or China. So I mean we're doing that to other countries. They're definitely doing that to us, right?
Hmm.
And maybe they're running something here and they're doing something here. So then it's like coming from within. Maybe they built the drone, maybe they had the pieces shipped in, who knows what. Um, so that's another option. But I think it's like the government. Like I think that these are government operated or owned drones.
What's the purpose then?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know. Scary because it's kind of
is
like
yeah.
what would be the purpose that you're not willing to tell people?
I know. Like, is it surveillance? Is it data collection? Like, what is it? Is it
I don't know.
just I don't know. So on the back of that, I've had people reach out to me because they know I'm into this, and they there's some new tool on Apple. Maybe Chris, you might know more than me. There's some new tool with a like encryption data protection on Apple,
Oh, okay.
and there's certain conversations and phone calls and messages and email, whatever, all communication, peer-to-peer communication that is can be encrypted with some new Apple software, and you can protect it from um, people trying to. For instance, like if I signed up for TikTok, I'm basically signing up. No one reads the terms and conditions. You're basically signing up and saying people can access your data.
Yeah.
You're giving them permission to access your data, and this kind of thwarts that. But why my I guess the question is, why do you think that's coming out now? All of this is happening between November 4th and January 20th. Why do you think all this is happening like right now during the holiday? And of course, everyone's distracted with the holidays. You got the family,
Yeah,
you got the
yeah.
greetings, you got the decorations. I got the tree over there. You know what I'm saying? So why is this all happening right before there's a new regime change, especially in America, which is one of the powerhouses in the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Apple encryption thing, that's I don't
Yeah,
know, but I have to look into it. I know
I
my
have to.
phone's been trying to get me to update, so like
You see,
you know,
yeah, that's part of it. There's a new feature. You'll see it. You'll see it.
I mean, I think that's a good thing. I think so like I don't know, like we're trying to blend a bunch of things together.
Yeah.
Um I do think that like I know Apple has been pushing like a greater degree of security and also like from advertising, like Apple now, I believe, right? Someone would have to kind of fact check this, but I believe like they're making it much more difficult for, let's say, like other applications to track your data, advertising. Like
Mhm.
it's becoming more difficult to advertise through the Apple ecosystem. I think they're trying to like at least from like I don't know like their marketing, let's say, is like trying to lift up privacy.
Uh, yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
So right, that's why there's a little bit of like a battle between Google and, let's say, Apple, because Google's very much like, if you think about it, like Apple sells merchandise, physical product, and it sells its software.
Hmm.
But they make money off of, they actually make something that's tangible, that's like you can feel, and they make money. Google, on the other hand, is just software for the most part, right? So it's like, and advertising. They make so much money on advertising. So being able to track you like and your patterns is like very important to them. So I think Apple is like kind of like, in a sense, from either a moral or most like a business situation, is like starting to put up barricades so that Google can't really
Yeah.
track you so easily if you're using an iPhone. Um, Maybe it's coincidental that it's all happening around the same time. I don't know. I mean, Christmas also, from an e-commerce standpoint, is like people
Yeah.
release big things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
The
as far
financial
as like
sector
the
is busy.
drones and stuff, it's like that to me is like extremely coincidental. I think someone said November 18th is when people started to
Then like notice
yeah, so when
or
was the
report.
election? When did Trump win?
I think it was November 4th. I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, so like let's say 2 weeks later, he now this is happening, and this is like all over the place. And then what? A month later, some kid kills the CEO.
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm saying. Like, what? Why is this all happening at this time? And I've November 5th, November 5th. So
Yeah,
between
so
November 5th and now, we've seen all these things happen. So to get to
yeah.
one more piece, because we're parkouring right now, but it's all blending together. There's the new stuff that I've uncovered about the United Healthcare stuff is United Healthcare. There's two things United Healthcare are that I didn't mention the first time when I was talking about all the connections that I knew about. And the next one is, guess who's I think I sent this to you in a voice note, but we can say it live on the air now. Uh, the biggest healthcare provider for NYU Medical School, the Langone Hospital, and the Hospital of Special Surgery. So the school and the two main hospitals. Guess who's the biggest provider for all of them? Oh yeah, you guessed it, United Healthcare.
Hmm,
And
interesting.
um, United and then those hospitals are the official medical staff of City Field. So we used to work in East Elmhurst, Queens. City Field and the New York Mets, where the New York Mets played. It's NYU, and it's MSG, Madison Square Garden Corporation, James Dolan, with the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers. Also, officially, whenever a player needs surgery or they need. They have the physicians and trainers. They are all
Mhm.
come from NYU. So now I dug a little deeper, and the revenue that those teams bring to the city of New York is massive. Then you have, like I said before, the two other connections before, the Hilton Hotel and the police commissioner being the granddaughter of what the art school and film school of NYU is named after. I can't help but realize what this. I, I
Yeah,
can't
what's
put the
the
piece,
what
the
I got those, but
keystone.
like
Yeah,
what how do they
there
all relate
has
to
to
each
be
other?
something. There has to be someone in within United Healthcare and this college, the university that owns all of Greenwich Village as well, estate
Hmm.
property wise. They own the whole village, West Village, East Village, Greenwich Village. It's where all the buildings are, library, classrooms, everything, dorms. I'm not going to say they were involved in the planning of this, but I mean, we're like, it's like you say, you're right. I don't have any concrete. Still need the keystone piece. I don't have the skeleton key yet.
Yeah, I mean you're feeling around it in the
Yeah,
dark.
but it's every breadcrumb I pick up always points back to that school. And the reason why I keep bringing it up is because I went to that school, so that's why
Hmm.
I know how it works. I know how that place operates, and I think. Should I say this? Yeah, yeah. We tell the truth here. We tell the truth
We
on the Draxx Life, and we're gonna tell that my show is gonna be the secret truth.
Let's see your truth. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, fuck it. We tell this is what we do here. The Clinton. I know the president of the school is has very close connections with the Clinton family.
Hmm.
So, like you said, I
And I
can't.
like a
I'm like
Elaine.
Charlie, like the Pepe Sylvia. Remember that
Yes, correct. I'm
scene?
like,
I
there's
don't know.
what we don't see on camera is the wall with all of these pins
Yeah,
and these lines,
and the lines
just
just
like.
drawn to each other. I just don't have that skeleton key that connects everything together.
I mean, to me, it's like so. There's just one guy I like listen to. He's an author, Douglas Murray. He's a
Yeah.
British guy, uh, and it's funny. He was on an interview, and someone was trying to like, who's they, and like Douglas Murray is like a very like above board kind of like not Eddie Bravo of his ilk, let's say. But like, he was just like, I don't think there's they anymore. I think he's just like, there's a lot of theys out there. There's a lot of people who
Probably.
have positions of power and have different motivations and have different things to lose or to gain. And it's like, there's many theys, right? Like there's big theys, there's little theys, there's the they at like one company, and then there's theys at government level. So, I mean, I don't know if this is like some grand conspiracy, but it's like to your point, it's just interesting that like a lot of things happening within a short period of time. It's also to me very coincidental that like
I don't think it's coincidental.
we're
That's
waiting.
where
Well, I
we
use it's
disagree.
like it's very. I mean, I say that in the sense of like
Curious.
it's
That's what I
almost
say.
like, is it a coincidence? Like all of these things are happening at the same time. President Trump is not elected yet, and there's a short window before the next, let's say the next what's the word I want to think of? Not even administration, like the next monarchy takes over, like
I call it regime. Yeah.
the next regime.
Regime.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
So it's like it is to me. It's like it's a little bit more than coincidence that like all of these things are happening, and also if you're in the government, you're like the writing is on the wall. We either need to do something big to like stop this, or we need to like get our last ditch efforts through before we can't anymore. Like it is kind of, I say in quotes, coincidence that also there was this massive bill like that they're trying to pass,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like you got drones that the government's not commenting on, which is weird.
Extremely strange. Yeah.
Weird. When you even have like local government, many mayors in New Jersey are also going to the government saying our population is complaining of these things. you need to help us. Like, you need to tell us what these things are.
Yeah,
They're in the
just
dark
just
as
just for
well.
safety, they don't feel safe. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, you shouldn't feel safe, right? So, like, that's a big deal, and that's kind of getting gaslighted. Like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, they're fine. They're not. They're legal. We know it. Like, we're not gonna tell you they're not the government, but they're not the government. You got this very random killing, if not assassination. Very weird. I don't think anyone can like say
It's
it's
a hit.
not weird. I think it is as well.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, everyone's paying attention to that. And now you're going to try to pass this like 2,000-page bill, which the last time they tried to pass a bill like that, there was like all this money stashed for all of these different things. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's just, to me, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of a shell game. It's like, let's just get everyone distracted over here and let's try to tie up some loose ends in the government before Trump takes office.
Yeah.
Because,
No.
dude, I think people are afraid for their freedom. Like, I think there's people in government who did some things that were, let's just say, not, if not illegal, very close to it. And it's kind of like you don't want any diggers like really digging through all of the documents, because like there may be some shit that's going to put you in jail for a long time.
Yeah.
So think
That's a
about
good
that.
point.
If you're like, oh shit, we gotta like we gotta dust a lot of this stuff under the table, because if these guys get in here and really start going to town, yikes, some of us, our heads are gonna roll.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
That's a good point. We're in
Yeah,
strange times, and people, I can just tell by being outside, people are on edge. They're it's People feel unsafe with this going on and no one talking about it, at least no
yeah,
one in a position of authority talking on it. It's only the like the places that we like to see, the internet, social media, Reddit. Those are the only people that are talking about it. There's no official statement at all. um,
no. And when people, it's like when you have your friends taking pictures, it's not even like,
oh
you
no,
know
no, straight up videos, like 4-minute
yeah, it's like
videos. Yeah.
UFOs. I could see how someone can kind of be like, dude, I've never seen a UFO. I don't know anyone who's ever seen anything that's a UAP. I don't buy it. But this is like, at this point, it's kind of beyond. It's beyond that. Like, your friends have seen it. Your friends have seen it. Family members have seen it. There's video of it. Like,
Hmm.
you can't gaslight it. Like, and the government's not denying it. They're just saying, they're not explaining it.
They're saying we cannot confirm nor deny, which
Yeah,
is an
that's
answer
crazy.
in and of itself.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Dude, we live in a movie. Like, I feel like that's what we've come to live
Well,
in.
but
It's
that's what I'm
like
saying.
scripted.
Is this the simulation angle? Like, is this is where you?
Are we in the Matrix? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know. Uh, First of all, before we can move on, but I want to bring something by you because the theme of this
Dude, we
show.
are like, I literally, this show, if it was a meme, would be Charlie. It would be that scene in Charlie when he's just
Yeah,
like,
but he's just pointing at Pepe Sylvia. This
yeah.
name keeps coming over again. Pepe Sylvia. Pepe
And they,
Sylvia. This whole box is Pepe Sylvia. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
go ahead. What were you going to say?
for you look like you're gonna jump on a John Deere tractor and like.
It's my new look, man.
Yeah, I like
My
it.
new look. I
I
like
like
it
it.
too.
The beard is nice too. I know you've told me you've had it. I've seen it before. Yeah, the
Well,
salt and pepper beard.
I had a beard substantial like here, and
Yeah,
now
I
it's just,
remember.
I haven't shaved.
Nah,
I'd
it
like
looks
to
cool.
see this long hair suits you, man. It's
Yeah,
very like,
man, look at this.
Jack Sparrow.
Oh yeah. I haven't got a haircut in like a year. It's pretty cool. I think my preferred state is more long on
Clean.
top, short back
Yeah.
and sides. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, you're more Puerto Rican these days.
yeah. Exactly.
You've adapted to your environment.
I've assimilated into deep into the Bronx
Yeah,
Brewery.
he's like,
Shout out Bronx
I,
Brewery.
I need to blend in a little more.
Yeah, it makes me look tougher in the streets.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Coming home at night, you're gonna be like, I'm not a
So
target.
a theme of this season has been like religion versus like almost versus science, right? And I want to bring this up,
Yeah.
not versus maybe,
But yeah, go ahead. Just make your. It's fine. Make your point.
because I want to ask you. I've been dying to ask you this, uh, because I listened to a podcast, a hockey podcast, and there's a player. He's played for many teams. I think this is his fourth team he's played on. His name is Matthew Duchesne. He's French. He's
Duchesne.
French
French. I was
Canadian.
gonna say he's
French
French, right?
Canadian. Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about.
and he's he's a devout practicing Christian,
Okay.
and he told a really like touching story, actually a compelling story, on like it was like a week ago on it's called Spin Chicklets. It's the biggest hockey podcast in the world, and I think in Canada it's the number one podcast regardless of genre. It's
What is it
number
called?
one.
Spitting chicklets?
Spitting chicklets, because like
Like teeth?
when you lose your teeth,
Okay.
you're spitting the chicklets out. Yeah,
I like it. Go
yeah.
ahead.
And so his name is Matt Duchesne, and he was talking about how as a Christian, he never has used the word religion, and the way he described it, I thought was profound. And I want to hear your thoughts
Yeah,
on
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm
So
curious.
he said, I never used the word religion, religious, because religion is a set of rules to follow. I call it faith. I call it spirituality. And he goes on to say that his whole life he's been involved, and even players now, going on the theme where it's kind of, we've talked about this in a couple
Yeah.
other episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Christianity is starting to come back in America,
Yeah.
and he
Correct. Yeah.
said a lot of players, his players in the locker room, will come up to him and they say, Matt, they're like, Matt, I'm having a little trouble in my personal life. Like, you obviously you don't see that on the ice because you don't know them personally. It's like, I'm having some troubles. Maybe it's family, maybe it's a personal thing, maybe it's an addiction or whatever.
Yeah.
And they say, like, is there any way? So he's become the NHL's spiritual guru, and a lot of players have come up to him after he like guides them. But the best thing he said was, it's not a rule thing. If I don't judge anyone, if you disagree with me, I hear it. If you were once part of the church and then now you're not, I also understand. If you have a different worldview, it's all good. But if you ever wanted any help, I'm here to talk to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of players have come to him and said, I met my wife because I started going back to church. I went to Bible study. I went to these events. Now I have a wife and two kids, and my life is better than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a large part of it because you're the one who kind of, he's not forcing you to do anything. He's like guiding you. He's be like, this is what I think. This is what I believe. You could take this however you want, but this is the nature of the life, the how I see the world.
Yeah.
And the stories of, like, he tells three different players' names, and they all met their wives, they all started families, they all turned their lives around, got better financially, got better, just personally, dropped all their bad habits. And it was because Matt Duchesne was like, hey, I'm here. If you just want to have a conversation, just talk to me.
Yeah.
So you Matt Duchesne, but I think this is part of the theme of the season, where
Yeah.
this is kind of on the rise, and it may have to do with people are getting a little scared now. People are unsure of what's happening, and maybe not religion itself, not the institution, not like, you rule number one, you have to do this, 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 this. I don't think people respond well to that, which I didn't. So, if my personal thing, I never liked Catholicism. We got to stand up, we got to kneel, we got to sing this song at this time, we got to listen to this passage for the 55th time.
Yeah.
But what I always liked about Catholicism is, how it built your character, it forged your character in a positive way, and the academic part, the education side of it. But
Yeah, didn't you go to a Jesuit school?
I did. My high
Yeah, okay.
school was Jesuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
So
What do you think about him? Just like
yeah,
the rise, even in the sports world, or in, I bet you it's happening in all sectors, that people are turning back to faith.
yeah. So okay. Oh,
Yeah,
dude, that was good.
yeah,
And now I'm kind of interested.
yeah.
I'm gonna look him up later.
You should listen to the interview. Just
Yeah,
listen. Yeah.
yeah. So a couple things. I think one, like I do think like anything with is there's pendulum swings. So like in our lifetime, I think you've seen a huge uptick in just like I'm gonna use the word hedonism as
Yeah.
for lack of a better word, but like
Yeah, that's,
doing
I get you.
whatever it takes to get what you want, right? Like OnlyFans, my opinion is kind of like a byproduct of that. Like, I
Yeah,
don't care. I'll do whatever. I'm gonna become a millionaire. I'll sleep with like this girl's on OnlyFans. Like
yeah, I
I'll
saw
sleep
that.
with 100 men in a day. Oh, now I'm gonna sleep with 1,000. It's like,
It's ridiculous
what are
in my
you
opinion.
doing?
Yeah.
Like, there has to be like, there's gonna be a consequence for that. Like psychologically, there's an emotion. There's gonna be a consequence. Maybe you don't feel it now, but you're gonna feel it eventually. But like that mindset of like whatever it takes to get me to what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like anything else, there's always going to be like a counter balance to that. And I think also as that degree of like hedonism, consumerism,
Yeah.
get that money, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjective, you're also seeing people say like, I don't want that. Like there's got to be more to life than that, right? So you're seeing people who go down that road and then are not happy, like it didn't lead them where they thought. So, you know, counterbalance is like, all right, maybe I should go back to what like I was taught or something. I need to try something else. So I think you see that's one explanation. I think you see people who, especially young people, who are like, I don't want to be that way.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that
true.
generation is, well, I don't want that. I'm gonna go in this track. So you're also seeing like I think an uptick in like people who like the trad wife, like traditional wives. Like you're seeing these countercultural movements, and part of that I think is like, hey, our ancestors believed in God, and it gave them great value in their lives and meaning. Maybe there's some truth to this. It's not a delusion. Maybe there's some value. Like for thousands of years, people have worshipped a God. In this
Yeah.
case, we're talking like Judeo-Christian God. Like there's a long, many generations, thousands,
Millennia. Yeah.
right, and have gotten value from it. And there's maybe some truth to that. So I think you're seeing some people like the pendulum swing where they're, and I'm kind of looking at like from a Western side,
Mm-hmm.
like are like, all right, like let's go back and investigate because the world is not giving me what I thought it was. It's not coming through with its promises. Like the athlete, right? These are guys who are wealthy, at the top of their game, and can have what they want for the most part, and probably are not happy. Like
And are still
obviously,
not happy. That's a great point. I was just thinking that. Yeah, yeah,
right? They're not happy. Like their pockets are full. They got some fame, notoriety. They're doing what they like to do, play
yeah.
sports, whatever. But
And
they're probably
they're
lost.
still not fulfilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's I think it is like one of the explanations, right? And I mean, if you go deeper into like let's say just let's look, we're talking Christianity for lack
Mm-hmm.
of a better word.
Yeah.
Like one, it's not rules, like it's a relationship. Like Christianity, like or let's say a Christian interpretation of the Bible, which is also like the Old Testament, which is the Jewish Bible, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Like the interpretation is like God sought like a relationship with people, which is kind of an amazing idea if you think about it. It's not like it's like he if there's a God that's can do it's all powerful, all knowing, can be anywhere, like the idea that it cares and wants a relationship with each individual, like that's like the idea. That's like the Bible. Like it's a relationship. So it's not rules, right? In a sense, like the Old Testament shows like there was rules were given, right?
Mm-hmm.
On like how to kind of live a life that was like from God's perspective would keep you kind of on the right path and not like have you go off into chaos. But another theme of the Old Testament was that the people could not obey the rules. Like they couldn't. They'd always very quickly fall off the path. And as it kind of the story evolves, like you find out through the New Testament that like that's the purpose. Like you human beings are incapable of really obeying like rules. Like there's something about us that kind of rebels from that. Like you said, like when you were a kid, you rebelled from the idea of like you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the New Testament, especially, and really you see it in the Old Testament, it's like no, no, no. Like I want, this is God speaking. Like I want a relationship with you, like a friendship, like a love relationship with you. And if that relationship is there, like everything else will kind of work out. And like there's truth to that. Like if you have a wife that you love, right? Like you don't have a list of things like I need to do this. It's like no, I love my wife. So like the result of that is I also tend to do the things that like are going to make my wife happy and vice versa. Like she loves me, she cares about me. As a default, she's going to kind of like do the things that like are going to make me happy to a degree, right? It's a relationship. It's not rules. It's not like an algorithm. If I follow this algorithm, I'll have a good marriage. It's like no. It's like jazz. It's like give and take. It's a nurturing relationship. So I
Mhm.
think that's like what turns a lot of people off. It's like they grew up, maybe like that part was never really taught, and it just became like rules and regulations. And I think it's
Yeah.
pretty clear in the Bible that doesn't work. Like that's really the whole tension in the New Testament, is like you had one population who were very much like here's the law, we follow the law, and then the Jesus character saying you've missed the whole purpose. Like you have no love in your heart, you're just trying to follow the laws, and like that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point
Yeah.
is like
Bingo.
have a relationship with me, and by default you also follow these laws because you want to, because they make me happy. Like it's a relationship. Sorry, anyway. I don't know if I answered your question,
No,
or
that's a great answer. So it's
but there you go. It's
yeah,
it's the relationship. Like I've been going through like a study someone at my church gave me,
yeah.
and the whole purpose of it is like to really identify that like that's what it is. Like all of the characters in the Bible that like you talk about in Jewish synagogue or in Christian churches, it's like each of them had a relationship with God. Like he knew their name, they knew him. It was a relationship, and then they did. Then there's the story of that person, but really you're reading the story of their relationship. It's not like a cerebral, you know, uh, like lawyer document. It's like an adventure through a relationship with like the creator of the universe. And I think that's a lot of kids like they're not taught that. It's very cold. And then as they get older, it's like I don't want to be this. I don't want to be in this environment. Like I'm done. And then they go off and they live their life.
Yeah, no, that's excellent because the way I saw it as a child, the reason what was a complete turnoff was what you just described. That if I don't do, it's like when you have like a box of frozen food, and it's like step one, do this,
Yeah.
step two, do this, step three, do this, step four. I never liked that part of Catholicism, and
It's not a recipe.
yeah, they're right, exactly, and
Like when you go to if there is a heaven, God's
yeah.
not going to be like, well, you followed the ingredients, but
Yeah.
oh, but you skipped step 2. It's
Who?
like no, no, no. There's not a way to get around it. It's like in the Bible, New Testament says it's like God judges your heart. It's your heart. It's not about. And there's even another line in the Bible. It's like even those who don't know the law but do what the law says because it's like part of their conscience, they've
Mm-hmm.
obeyed the rules. So again, it's like God judges the heart. It's not rules and regulations. But I think a lot of times that's what's taught. It's like do this and
Yeah,
you'll win. Don't
do
do this and you're gonna get punished. It's like that's not how it
yeah,
works.
exactly. Like do X, Y, and you're gonna get rewarded with Z. But it's not that. It's not that. Um, and when I was in high school, which was even in like a more advanced form of Catholicism, which is a Jesuit all boys prep school, Fordham Preparatory School, Bronx, New York, Fordham Road. Everyone knows.
There we
Right,
go.
right next to the Bronx Zoo. It's between the Bronx Zoo and the Botanical Gardens.
Yeah.
So it was cool that I could walk to the Bronx Zoo, which I would do, or
Cool childhood. That's a
yeah.
cool way to like do your high
And
school
what
years.
else was there on a more humorous note? Arthur Avenue. Arthur Avenue, the Italian. Oh yeah,
Mm.
oh yeah, oh yeah. The food, I mean lunch, because when you get to senior year, you can actually leave the premises and
Yeah,
go
yeah.
get
No,
lunch.
we had that too. So
Yeah,
yeah, you can go out there,
I
be
can
sitting at a
go.
place
I can.
having like a good like
I can.
Italian sandwich,
Yeah, I
a
would
little prosciutto.
a little prosciutto,
Well,
a little chicken parmigiana. You know
there
what
we
I'm
go.
saying? That's what I would get for lunch. Cause I'm
Yeah.
not eating that like dusty frozen hamburger in the cafeteria. Nah,
Nope.
no. So when I was there, a lot of the teachers and the professors are priests,
Yeah, they're
and
Jesuits.
they're Jesuit priests. And one time, this is actually a good story. One time, I went to a priest so he can give me a recommendation for college, and I he was like, okay, so then what I want you to do, I want you to read this passage and then write me a story about it.
Oh, interesting.
And so I forgot what passage it was. It was something from, it was New Testament. That's what I remember. It was a New Testament passage.
Hmm.
And I wrote a story about how one day I was at home alone and my brother was probably at practice, like sports, some kind of practice or game. He had a game that day. So I was home alone and my parents went out to like socialize, and I wrote a story. It's like, okay, I'm alone in my house for the probably the first time, because when you're like 15, when do you remember being alone, especially when you have a twin brother?
Yeah.
Um,
Good point. Yeah.
I was alone in my home for the first time that I can even remember, even now, and I had to fend for myself, meaning I had to cook my own dinner. I had to figure out, all right, do I study, do I do my homework, or do I cheat a little bit and watch
Hmm.
TV and like or listen to music, and it'd be like, I'll just tell my parents, yeah, the homework's done, but they weren't there to check. So, and I wrote about that, having to cook my own dinner, and then I went back to the, the father, I called him at that time, and SJ. So when you're a Jesuit priest, there's a insignia, your father, whatever, SJ, like Society of Jesuits is what it
Hmm.
means. So I went back to him, and I handed it to him. Went back later that day, and he was like, sit down, and he goes, you realize you just wrote a metaphor for life. Like what you just did was wrote a story about just as simple as being home alone and having to make your own dinner for the first time, and that represents what is going to happen when you move on to college. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You're going to have to
Yeah.
get released, and you're going to become a man, you're an adult, you're going to have to do your own thing. You're going to have to fend for yourself. You're not going to have the nest to fall back on.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is incredible. Then I can, then lo and behold, get into NYU because of it. Because he wrote the recommendation. He wrote the recommendation. I don't know what he said because I think it's private. I can't read it.
Hmm.
But he probably said some glowing things. But I basically wrote a masterpiece. A masterpiece that any person of that age could write.
Nice.
And
Nice.
then I don't think I got rejected from any school. I remember I applied to Notre Dame, which is a Catholic school, which is a product of the Catholicism. Got into Notre Dame, got into NYU, got into Fordham, but that was a shoe in. I mean, it's like you got a kid with
Yeah.
amazing
Well,
grades,
you're
yeah, with
already
a
in the
yeah,
intake.
no disciplinary record, excellent grades. You're gonna get into Fordham University, which is not a bad
Hmm.
school. Fordham University is not a bad school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think you'd be fine.
yeah. The law school is actually, I would say, it's more has more um, cachet than the actual undergrad.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that was. But then, I guess I kind of lost. But like the rule following stuff, because I remember you would have to go to church. They would make you go to mass, and during class, like after class, the whole school would have to go to church. Like Catholic school, so it's like
Hmm.
that part I never resonated with. But this hearing Matt Duchesne describe what his faith is,
Yeah.
I was like, that's actually cool. I could.
Well, yeah.
That's the part that I liked about it. Yeah.
Well, in a sense, it's like what he's describing is that like he has a relationship,
Yeah.
and like he's willing to tell you about that relationship and maybe offer like, hey, this is working for me. If you're interested, I'll tell you, but I'm not gonna hoist that relationship on you. Like I'm not gonna put a weight on your shoulders that you don't want. And I think that's the difference. I mean, again, it's like that's the difference when you grow up in an environment your parents tell you what to do and you obey it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily something you want to do. At a certain point when you become an adult, you have to kind of decide like what do I do that I care like that's for me and what am I doing that like is for them?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happens when in church a lot of times I think it's like you grow up doing it because it's what your parents want you to do, but you don't have, and they have maybe a genuine relationship. And again, Catholicism is like in that environment, you can find people who have a relationship, but then you can find people who is like they're going through the routine, right? The
Right.
ritual. They don't have like a feeling. It's just like a checklist. Oh, I gotta go do this recipe. My parents taught me this recipe. I do this recipe. This is what I've been taught,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think you have people who at a certain age they leave or they decide that this is oh no this is my recipe too, I believe in this, right? So that's kind of like your case, right? You grew up in an environment, it didn't resonate with you, and you left it, right?
Yeah.
You didn't adopt it as part of your ritual,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's a lot of people, and then later in life, maybe something triggers them and
Yeah.
they say, you know what, I got
Exactly
to
right.
go
Yeah.
back and reinvestigate this, right?
Yeah.
In the Bible they'd say that that's like that's the Holy Spirit, a metaphysical entity that's kind of pricking you a little bit, saying, "You're on the wrong path. Like, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
you on the right path."
Yeah.
And I think that's what you see. Like,
I think you're
that.
seeing like that's a great point. I think you're seeing a lot of that now with a lot of people
Yeah.
in America. It's like a gravitational pull. Maybe Holy Spirit. I'm not going to go that far. That's not
Well, I mean,
me.
dude, you believe in aliens,
That's
you
not.
believe in ayahuasca creatures
I
and
believe
DMT
the
creatures. So
DMT
I
trolls.
mean,
I believe in that more.
is it that really that foreign of an idea if you think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. It's kind of funny. Like when it comes to like God, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, Holy Spirit, whatever you want, all these different entities, right? It is funny how we will get behind um, DMT
Yeah.
elves and
Ghosts.
ayahuasca spirits and
Interdimensional
interdimensional
beings. Yep,
entities,
I agree. Yeah.
but a lot of people have like a reversion to the idea of like God. And
I
my
think
opinion,
it's the institutional part of it. Yeah,
maybe,
starts
but not everyone's Catholic, so not everyone has that kind of degree of like
like rigid structure.
reversion to the idea of Christianity because in their mind it's not Catholicism, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
yours is like you think of a priest.
Yeah,
Not everyone. I didn't grow up Catholic, so I don't think my mind doesn't go to priests and standing up and sitting down because I
yeah,
like it wasn't my experience.
yeah.
But I guess my point though, because I think you find the same pattern in all of those environments, is that if there is a God, then there's someone at the top of the food chain who has the right to tell you what's right and what's wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
I think people, for some, I have my reasons, but like inherently rebel at the idea that someone can judge their actions as right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That people rebel against that. Like you see it, like in our society, right? Like if someone says that's wrong, inherently that's wrong,
Yeah,
you will see people freak out and go up in arms.
that's right.
I want to be a cat. I want people to treat me like a cat. I'm taking something. It happens, but that's far extreme. But like, if you were to say that is inherently wrong, someone will like at their core viscerally respond to that. And if you believe in God, this is my opinion. There is a right and wrong from his perspective. I believe that, and I think that idea people rebel from at their very core. The idea that like someone else, something can judge like their behavior as right or wrong. Anyway, that's my
Yeah,
thought.
no, I think a part of that is what I resented. That like, who is this mysterious figure that no one has ever seen face to face, telling me what's right and what's wrong, and has the final say in what my eternity is going to look like. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but I also
yeah.
hear your part of it where it's more of a, it's not that in so much as it's more of like I'm just trying to be your buddy, like we're just trying to have a loving friendship almost.
Yeah, but also just
Yeah.
not to go down, I don't want to preach, but like just recall, right? Like friendship and love, part of that is like pain and telling you when you're doing the wrong thing. Like you can have a loving relationship with your parents. They're your parents and their goal is to kind of like sometimes punish you because you're doing the wrong thing and you're going to be pissed. But like I'm saying good parents, right? Their
Yeah.
goal is not to like maliciously hurt you. It's just like no, like you think what you're doing is right. I have some degree of knowledge that I know what you're doing is wrong. I'm not going to let you do that or I'm going to punish you for doing it. Right now, you're angry with me. 5 to 10 years from now, you'll realize that like actually I was steering you on the right road. I actually pushed you out of the way of a calamity. And like I think if you think about it from that perspective, now God has a lot more knowledge than like your parents do. And it says like in the Bible it says like God like punishes the people he loves because he wants like
Because he
your
cares. Yeah.
he wants your character improved. So like there are examples of that where it's like no, the people he doesn't care about or don't want that relationship, it's like in many cases they're allowed to do what you want to do and you'll reap the whirlwind of that decision. That girl who wants to sleep with 1,000 people in 24 hours, she will reap the whirlwind of that decision. Like like there's no way there will not be a negative consequence from that. Like there will be something emotional that's not gonna end well. I believe that. Not a judgment on like slut shaming or whatever. It's just like there's got to be a consequence for that because
Yeah.
no culture really believes that is a good way to live. Like
I know. I know. I agree. Even outside of the
if
spiritual
you're
part of
outside
it,
of religion, it's just like
even that,
that's not right.
even that is, it's, I'm gonna call it what it is. And I always say I support anyone who wants to make money. You do you. I'm not trying to shame you or in any way or try to say I'm revolted by you making money the way you choose to do that. Do your thing. But I still can exercise my right to say I find that kind of morally reprehensible to do it that way. But you can do
Yeah,
your thing.
I
That's
mean
what I'm
again,
trying to say. Even
yeah, and
regardless, but I see the your side from the spiritual side where it's like at some point the what's the expression, the chickens will come home to roost at some point.
I mean, even psychologically,
Yeah.
right? Like, take spiritual out of it. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's you know, you're right. This has become a theme of our of this season.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, there are certain things you'll see in your life where you'll get a little tightened up. Like, you don't know why. You just kind of like inherently are like, something not right about this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's spiritual, maybe that's psychological, maybe that is just like you're tapped into the what
Then
is
you're
the
mainlining the secret truth of the universe.
correct. So it's like but you're just like, this is not right. This is not going to end
It's
well.
just, yeah, you just a sensation. It's a feeling. Yeah.
And I think that's like most people have that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like I'm not going to say what that thing is,
Mm-hmm.
but so you're like, something's not right, and there'll be a consequence for that like lifestyle, and you choose it. Maybe there'll be the pro is fame. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
put a high value on fame, but obviously there'll be a con, right? There's going to be some consequence to that type of like behavior.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, for sure. We're yeah. That was a great conversation. I think, should we even go into the crypto? I got the notes.
No,
It's gonna
we can do that another
that's
day.
gonna
Maybe we'll do
take
that
another
next week.
hour. Yeah, but I
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I think next week what I would like to talk about is
we should, yeah. Let's introduce it. Yeah.
like let's talk about like money and like crypto and just like the psychology of money and like how it came about. Because think about this for a second, right? Long time ago, at least from what we believe of history, right? And I don't even now trust history that much anymore. But like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's say you're a farmer and you grew a crop, corn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a harvest of corn. You put all of this energy into getting this harvest, getting all of this corn to grow. And now you have to find a way to turn that corn into something else, right? Because you can't build a house with corn. You can't, you know, you need other things than that to feed your family. So, right, what did you do? You would barter it, you would trade it. I'll give you this corn, you give me those apples, right? But let's say you have to move that corn from point A to point B. That, we had to figure out a way to turn corn into something I could put into my pocket, a store of value that I could travel with and use it anywhere, right? And that's kind of like the idea of money, right? I'm going to take this corn, I'm going to sell it to this person, and this person's going to give me, instead of bread, he's going to give me gold. And now I can put that gold, weighs much less than all these bushels of corn, and I can store that gold. It'll not perish or rust, and I can pass that corn or that gold to my son, and it became a store of wealth, right? And that's the idea that's how we started to turn our human energy into a substance that would stand the test of time. And now we're living in an age where there's been the next evolution of that with crypto. So yeah, I think that's something that I kind of would like to talk about, like the evolution of money and kind of like how even in our lifetime, money is starting to evolve
Yeah.
into something else.
All right, so I'll leave you with this one question because I did some research. Web 3. That's the part. Like when I was doing all my research, that's the part that interesting the most because the other part is too technical for me. But I'll do more research on it. Like
All right,
blockchain,
cool.
blockchains. You get a Bitcoin address. Mining. I kind of know a little bit. I know
Ooh, that's like
that.
the more technical of the part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Like Web 1, Web 2, like Google controls Web 1 and Web 2, and Web 3 is where you can own your own your network. The native assets, you own it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
next week, that's what we'll talk
yeah,
about. We're going to talk
yeah.
about
That's good. Yeah,
money and kind of like a high level of like what is money, because it's like we use it but we don't think about it.
yeah,
And then also let's talk about crypto, because I do think it's kind of important. I like follow crypto, and I do think it's kind of like for any of those who are listening who don't, it might be something worth like, I don't think we can teach you, but maybe we can just like tickle the taste bud, and then you can go and do a little research and see if there's any potential for you.
yeah. And I can give like because you're obviously way smarter than this than I am, but I can give like what I think is the future of currency, and if this is a good thing or is a bad thing. But I'm
Cool.
kind of
That's
leaning
perfect.
toward it might be good.
I mean,
Yeah,
like anything, there's pros and cons. So that might be something we can talk about. What are the pros and like, okay,
yeah,
there's got to be a con. What is the cons? But hey, ladies
yeah.
and
That's it.
gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Draxx
Mhm.
Life, seeing our pretty faces, and we'll catch you.
Peace
Well,
out.
hey, have a happy Merry
Merry
Christmas for
Christmas.
those who are celebrating, and
And
we will catch
Hanukkah
you.
starts the exact same day as Christmas this year.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so
Happy
happy Hanukkah to
Hanukkah.
those who are the Israelites in the room, and Friday, are we gonna
Yeah, yeah.
meet up next Friday?
Next Friday.
Perfect. So you'll see us in a week. All right.
Eh,
Hey, have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.